Thanks, babe. Love you. I'll s- Hey, what's going on, everybody? How are we doing? Welcome to another episode of Write More Light Live. I'm your host, Ryan Collins, Executive Director of the Midwest Writing Center. Thank you so much for joining us on a cold Tuesday afternoon here at Rock Island, Illinois. Yeah, excited to hang out with everybody today, do a little writing, talk about what writing can do for you. Uh, this probably should have been the very first episode that we did, subject for the very first episode that we did. Uh, but we don't always do things maybe in the order that we realized we should have in hindsight. So we're going to do that today, and just talk about a lot of different positive benefits that writing can have in your life, not just right now when things are upside down and crazy, but really all the time, and not just like not trying to write the great American novel or be a poet or anything like that. Really simple writing practices, kind of like what we do with the free writes. Just 5-10 minutes a day, keeping a journal, listing, really simple kind of reflective writing. Uh, any kind of like simple, basic, expressive writing can really have benefits in your life. And I'll talk about some of those today. Uh, put up some links to some reading and find out more information. We'll talk about some authors who have done some research into this. That's really worth your time to go check out more depth than we'll be able to go into today. One of the readings has a prompt, so I'm going to let that author kind of do the prompting for today. And was a couple of uh, excerpts of the poem, an excerpt from the book that just won the general nonfiction Pulitzer, which was announced yesterday by a really amazing author, Dan Boyer. Well, at least through a link to it, we'll be able to give it too much credit. Uh, but in any case, as we do every time when we start off with free writing, we try to recalibrate our minds toward language. Uh, so yeah, today, like I said, I'm looking out my dining window for my home office, and yeah, it's pretty wet up there. So if you're looking for a prompt for today's free write guidance, write about storms. It is the season, right, which can be for a lot of people really scary. Uh, tornado season. Uh, but I know a lot of people also find thunderstorms, the sound of rain, soothing and calming. Uh, something I remember my dad kind of acclimated me to as a little kid, and like listening to the thunderstorms. I bet being freaked out had, had calm me down. So they always come, they always happen. Uh, we have a lot of different feelings about it. So if you're looking for a prompt, there's a prompt. If you're not looking for a prompt, discard completely. We get my handy dandy legal pad out. Keep my timer going. And do a rewrite. Our talk. And obviously, we always want to hear whatever you've got going, questions that you have, things that you're thinking about, ways that writing has made a positive force in your life, anything like that. Please chime in. No, ask questions. Uh, we'd love to hear from you. So, timer here, 5 minutes counting. See you. All right. Gotta get some good stopping place. I'll share what I wrote with you. The last phrase I wrote, check die. So that's weird. Anyway, hope that gets you off to a good start and thinking about uh, thinking about writing, thinking about writing for you. Which is what I want to talk about today. This all kind of jumps off of our tagline and also the title of the show. Write more light into your life. We we work with all kinds of writers, and we think everybody is a writer. In the Writing Center, not just authors. We sort of think of one who writes as a writer. That could be anybody. You at home doing work on your computer, keeping a journal. Uh, Anyone who's using a computer, any kind of smartphone, you're doing some kind of writing, some kind of keyboard, right? You're sending those messages. Uh, Writing messages right now. An author, I guess we think of more as a writer who is writing with the intent of publication, seeking an audience. And we work with everybody. But I think a lot of times when people are just starting out, or people are sort of learning about what it means to have a writing practice of some kind. The first thing I hear a lot when I've done workshops like this and talk about this kind of stuff, like really basic introductory writing workshops. I don't want people to see what I'm writing. I want it to be private, that sort of thing, right? That desire for privacy, which is something I think we all have, and often seems to be in some kind of peril for a lot of external forces. Um, and that's cool. I don't think one needs to share their work with anybody in order to get something out writing. Uh, so if you're one of those people and you're apprehensive about sharing your work, you don't want anybody to see what you're doing, great. That's fine. No pressure, no problem. It's all good. You don't have to. I think one of the other great things, I think any kind of expressive work that we do right now can have a lot of value, can be very therapeutic, any sort of like creative or artistic process. Um, cooking, cooking is often involved for me. I think a lot of times we think about this practical thing that we do. There's also, if you're small in a recipe, there's creativity to it, and you're making something for people to share, participate in, something that's stimulating the body and the mind. And all those things are good. Um, but writing, we all pretty much know how to write. For the most part, we all can do a little bit of reading. We can all do a little bit of writing. So we're already off to a good start. We don't have to buy musical instruments. We don't have to buy paints and canvas. The expense overhead on starting a writing practice is extraordinarily low. So it's very affordable to do this. And it's very accessible. And I think that's really important. The other thing I think is yeah, sorry about the audio, but my internet connection is maybe suffering from the weather a little bit today, so maybe not best. Anyway, so you already know how to do it. It's probably accessible to you. You don't have something to write with, or smartphones have some kind of writing app or notepad or something like that. So a lot of places you can go to capture your thoughts. Some kind of fancy journal like that. I usually just use a legal pad, just like that. Pretty accessible. Nothing fancy. I use fancy stuff. So, but getting into like the specific benefits that writing can have for you, particularly at a moment like this when things are kind of strange, upside down, and not normal. Really, probably for most of us, if any of us. And this is where we're going to get into a few links and other readings that I want to share that hopefully will kind of be informative and kind of get into a little more detail and get into it. So I think the first thing that's important right now expressive writing or creative writing, journaling, that can help reduce stress. It can help manage depression, anxiety, uh, insomnia. It can also help relieve some symptoms of physical ailments. There's a professor in the psychology department at the University of Boston, the University of Texas, Austin, a guy named James Pennebaker. Who's done a lot of research about this over the last 20 years. I've used some of his research in workshops like this and journal workshops that I've done with different communities. And I'm just gonna pull this quote. It's from an interview that did U.S. News. Writing about emotionally charged subject or an unresolved trauma helps you put the event into perspective. It gives some structure and organization to those anxious feelings, which ultimately helps you get through it. So in his book, Opening Up by Writing Down, Expressive Writing Improves Health and Eases Emotional Pain, is really worth checking out. Throw up links to all of that, so you can check that stuff out further. And actually, my notes for this and the prompt that we get today briefly, all of that's up on our website now. So if you want to follow the audio, it's a little choppy. You can check that stuff out there. So yeah, I think anything that we can find to maybe help with the anxiety. We're probably all feeling a little bit anxious right now, which is not good for those of us who are feeling anxious all the time, or have to deal with that on a regular basis. So just something as simple as free writing for 5 minutes a day or keeping a journal can kind of keep you centered and can put some of those things in perspective. So that's one thing to consider, why it might be useful to have some kind of basic writing practice. Excuse me. Second thing I want to talk about, that simple writing practice, journaling, free writing, a few minutes a day, that can help with focus and organization, which many people are struggling with. It gives us both a ritual. I usually, like I said, I usually use legal pads. I don't have fancy writing gear, but I kind of use the same pens or the same kind of notebook, or the same legal pad, stuff like that, pretty much all the time. I tend to write at the same time because I'm in a couple of different writing groups, so that forces me to have a little accountability to write with other people. So I kind of have a regular scheduled writing class, which isn't something that I've always done. But I've found the last 7 or 8 weeks has been really helpful and generative. So I mean, if you carve, a few minutes out of your day based on your schedule, you don't have to be accountable to other people necessarily. Most of the stuff, I think, a lot of the benefit we get from writing, because it comes from us and it's things we're already kind of doing. But it also gives you it gives you something to do. It's an activity. It might not seem like much, even if you're just making like to-do lists or things like that, but you're still making something. And I think anytime that we're participating in baking, it's healthy. It's a good thing. It also forces us to slow down a little bit, both in our bodies and our minds, and to capture more of our thoughts. And in doing so, kind of has a calming effect, or it can have a calming effect. And it definitely can improve focus and attentiveness. I found this article from a guy named Everett Harper. It's published in Forbes last month, and it's pretty interesting look at the value of ritual in the workday, just kind of in your daily life. And it had this interesting little prompt that's sort of centered on the current situation for the current pandemic. But I copied the prompt into this document, and basically it goes like this. Write the first sentence and the last sentence of a story that will be written about you during COVID. Act to fill it in the next 60 days. So that's kind of a longer term one. I thought it was kind of interesting to see like any kind of like creative writing prompt in Forbes. Not necessarily the place I usually expect to find or go to creative writing prompts, but that's cool. Uh, who knew? So that's a little bit longer, a bit more sort of an imaginative exercise, which I think is really great. Um, this other one, I think I've seen a lot of different prompts that sort of deal with trying to think about daily acts of gratitude or considering things that you're grateful every day. So in that way, this prompt, I think, the second part of this prompt is very familiar. You can find maybe a lot of different versions or iterations of it, but create a gratitude practice. Write three things you are grateful for or thankful for. Repeat daily. In 30 days, review your writing and notice what story it tells. And I think that is really interesting, especially the second part of that. After repeat daily, like the going back and seeing what you've produced over the last 2 weeks, 30 days, 2 months. Um, I think without even trying to tell a story, find that a story gets told. I think I think it will offer a lot more reflection and insight into what you've been doing, what you've been thinking, and how you've been getting through all of this uh, than you otherwise might be able to. And it doesn't even necessarily need to be like a gratitude practice, right? It could just be something like, write down three things you notice every day, describe them in detail. Um, if you're, you know, really not leaving your house, describe three things you saw from your dining room window or your room. Uh, you know, try to get really hyper focused and kind of narrow about that. And I think even when you do, when you have that kind of focus, it still opens up. Right? I think the more attention we pay to something, uh, the bigger it gets. It doesn't, even though it might seem like our focus is narrowing, uh, we learn more, pay more attention, we get more invested into detail, capture those things. I think when we go back and we take some time to look at it, it can be really instructive, particularly right now when you know there's so much uncertainty and we don't know kind of. I think part of the thing that's creating the stress and the anxiety uh, that I referenced before. It's just the uncertainty about when things are going to get back to normal. When we're going to be able to resume kind of like our normal activities. We're going to be able to go out in the world and give people a hug and things like that. And that uncertainty in and of itself is a huge stressor and creates a lot of pressure. Um, so this is something that you can do and you can be certain about and you can be certain about your perceptions. And I think even going back like a week, if you did this for a week, you go back and look at it. At least for me, and some other writers that I know, I think there's comfort there in seeing what's already happened, what you've already been through. I don't mean like been through in a negative or traumatic way. I mean, it might be that also. But just to kind of see that even if it maybe doesn't feel like it, we're kind of just like floating, it's kind of weird between space of being stuck at home, not being stuck at home, what's going to come next, in this sort of like chamber of uncertainty. Something like just making a simple list of things you notice or things you're grateful for or objects around you and trying to describe them in detail, trying to pay attention to them in detail. It will slow you down, give you focus, and it will, if you go back and look at it, see that you've been getting through hopefully a little bit better than you realize. But we don't always notice that maybe like day to day. It's only kind of take time to maybe like reflect and analyze. And simple writing practice offers us an opportunity. Um, this next one, I got a little bit of a longer quote from an interview from an author, researcher named David Kessler, who was the subject of an interview in a really interesting article that was published in the Harvard Business Review a few weeks ago. And another thing I think writing can do is it gives us a way to cope with grief or anticipatory grief, which David Kessler calls a form of anxiety. It gives it context, it gives it structure, which can help us to see it more fully and balance it with other thoughts that might not be as readily accessible or as preoccupying, and thus helps us to better manage it where it can help us better manage it. Writing also keeps us in the present moment. Even if we're writing about the past, we're doing it now. So it helps us to center ourselves maybe a little bit more and not get too lost in the past. If that's something that you're writing about, not to suggest that that's what you're writing about. Far be it from me to tell you what to write about. Write about whatever you want. But if you are writing about grief or difficulty or stress or anything like that, I think this, as someone who's done a fair amount, I think this kind of writing, how to say, it gives us a mirror that we can kind of see our own thoughts in a little bit more clearly. I know that I always feel like whatever I'm doing, if I write about something, I can kind of see it outside of my head, outside of whatever stressors and pressures are going around the work that I'm trying to do. I can sort of see my own thoughts a little bit more clearly. It helps me to think a little bit. It slows me down again, and it puts things in a little bit more perspective. And for me, just the act of writing, physical act of writing, is calming and soothing. If I'm not I'm not trying to produce something that's a little more pressure oriented. But when I'm just writing for myself, I think my favorite thing about writing is just the moment of actually doing it and filling up the page. Even if you go back and you realize that what you wrote maybe was the best, I think there's still, I still think there's appreciation and a calm to be had there that maybe disappears in the revision process, but that's okay. We'll talk about revision another day. So this is a quote from David Kessler in the Harvard Business Review article that I mentioned before, where he's talking about anticipatory grief. And I think that's something from a lot of reading that I've been doing, from a lot of people that have contacted the Writing Center. I've had an opportunity to talk to the past few weeks. Anticipatory grief seems like a good term for something that I feel like a lot of us are trying to put our hands on, or maybe experiencing, but or having not particularly. So this is just a quote from David Kessler, kind of explaining what he's talking about there. And we'll throw up a link to this article. It's really fantastic. Check that out. So yes, we're also feeling anticipatory grief. Anticipatory grief is that feeling we get about what the future holds when we're uncertain. Usually it centers on death. We feel it when someone gets a dire diagnosis or when we have a dark thought, we lose a parent someday. Anticipatory grief is also more broadly imagined futures. There's a storm coming. There's something bad out there. With a virus, this kind of grief is so confusing for people. Our primitive mind knows something bad is happening, but you can't see it. This breaks our sense of safety. We're feeling that loss of safety. I don't think we collectively lost our sense of general safety like this. Individually or smaller groups, people have felt this, but all together, this is new. We are grieving on a micro level. So I don't think it takes much to kind of look out, kind of see what he's talking about, find examples of that. So I think another that last line about we're grieving that A, this is happening to all of us, but B, that we're grieving this micro and macro level. I think one thing that writing does as well is it connects us to that. I think a lot of us feel siloed, isolated, or self-isolated. And even when we're kind of connecting through the screen here and doing kind of virtual events that we can, that's definitely trying to do as much of as we can. We're still kind of writing and definitely reading the writing of other people, something that makes me feel more connected with people, more connected to the world. brings me a little bit more out, whatever might be trapping the entire headspace a little too much. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But another thing I think that writing offers us right now, I guess it's just another form of writing. So good at teaching us all these different kinds of words, and reading is too, obviously. But this is an opportunity to document history, and I think the prompt from the Forbes article kind of gets at this too, or offers maybe an opportunity to create a prompt that sort of speaks to this moment. In any event, I think too often, at least in the United States, it seems like a lot of times I think we consider ourselves to be participants in history, but we don't realize that we are living through history. It feels remote, or we don't see it on the news or read it in a book or something. We weren't participating, so we feel like at a distance from it. First, we're all history, and just I was recounting for somebody not too long ago, sort of like major historical events that have happened just since the year 2000. So we're living in a lot of very consequential history all the time, both local. I think right now, we see this a little bit more clearly because it's all happening all over the world, and there's no sort of way to escape that since we're participating in history. So why not capture it? Why not share it? You don't, not that one needs to have a practice that is centering around this current pandemic or anything like that, but if one were so inclined, one could do that. And I think I think a lot of people come to the Writing Center with projects that they want to do that aren't necessarily for publication. They don't think of themselves as an author. It's family histories, it's genealogy, it's stories passed down within families. And they just want to share them with their family, their friends, to have some sort of document and some kind of record. And right now, there's obviously a lot of interest in going back 100 years and looking at those kind of documents and those kind of records from from 1918. And that was our opportunity to create those kind of documents. So if you ever write about participating in history, congratulations, you're doing it right now. And it will be interesting as time goes on for people to look back and see not only how we all lived through this moment in the general sense, but how specifically, how each of us individually through this moment, something we can share, something we can capture. Last thing I want to talk about, just really quickly, is the way that a writing practice can create space. I always think of a page in a journal or a blank Word document or anything like that. It's sort of an open field, right? It's a garden waiting to be planted and tended. It's your own space. If you don't want anybody into that space, then it's yours. This gets back to that issue of privacy, which, if you're stuck at home, kids and extended family, things like that, privacy might feel even harder to come by than normally would. You can have a little private space and you can carry it around in a bag or in a pocket, and you can take it with you, but you can have that space. So you can get things off your chest. You can say what you need to say the way that you need to say it, and nobody else needs to see it. But you can also kind of exercise your creativity a little bit. I think it's important for all of us to exercise our imaginations all the time, especially now when I think trauma and difficult situations often force us to sort of narrow our imaginations, what we see as maybe possible. Having a writing practice where you sort of consider what other people's lives are like, what another time might be like or what has been. It sort of forces you to kind of exercise those creative muscles and to keep your imagination limber, as it were. So I think the more that we can do that, the more we can sort of see a way beyond this and see a way outside of whatever difficulty we might be in. And we can see a way back to being closer to the people that we love, people that we don't even know we love yet. And writing gives us a way to see all those things and imagine those things and kind of help speak or write those things into existence. So I think those are just a few things that a writing practice can be tremendously beneficial for. I have a couple readings that we wanted to share. One's a little bit longer. I just kind of wanted to give a shout out to Anne Boyer, who won the Pulitzer Prize. It was announced yesterday for general picture for the about her experience breast cancer. There's a really terrific excerpt of the New Yorker. We'll throw up the link. You can read that. Check out the audio. But I think we're going to close things out today with a really terrific poem by the great Ada Lovelace. It's called Instructions for Not Giving Up. It was part of the Poem a Day project, the Academy of Poets that we shouted out. There's an audio up with that, so I'm going to pass it over to Sarah. I picked this poem because I think it speaks to a lot of things that I've been talking about today, but also on this kind of wet early spring day when things are feeling kind of tough for a lot of people. I think this is a poem I've seen a lot of people share recently, and I think it's pretty clear why. So I hope you find a little bit of inspiration, a little bit of strength in that. I hope you find your way to some kind of basic writing practice. If you got more questions on how you can do that, how we can help, please let me know. Contact the Writing Center. We're always happy to help. I'm going to pass it over to Sarah. We're going to play this Ada Lovelace song and then we're going to get on with the day. So thank you so much, everybody. Take care, be safe, and see you on Thursday.
This is Ada Limon. I'm reading Instructions on Not Giving Up. More than the fuchsia funnels breaking out of the crab-apple tree, more than the neighbor's almost obscene display of cherry limbs shoving their cotton candy-colored blossoms to the slate sky of spring rains. It's the greening of the trees that really gets to me. When all the shock of white and taffy, the world's baubles and trinkets, leave the pavement strewn with the confetti of aftermath, the leaves come, patient, plodding, a green skin growing over whatever winter did to us, a return to the strange idea of continuous living, despite the mess of us, the hurt, the empty. Fine then. I'll take it, the tree seems to say, a new slick leaf unfurling like a fist to an open palm. I'll take it all.